Stories, spirituality, pathways, and aliens. You're here on The Long Road Home. Hello!
Hello, everybody.
I'm Emily.
I'm Chad.
And you're listening to The Long Road Home.
Welcome to another episode, everybody.
How you been?
We've been okay.
It's above 20 degrees here in Montana, so I've been basically sunbathing.
Yeah, and the bear mace in our house is finally gone, which is really great. No more suffocating in our own home.
No more choking on Pepper, but I do think that we're just going to permanently have these sexy, gravelly voices. So
It's going to be this way forever.
It's like that episode of Friends when Phoebe catches a cold and she doesn't want to get rid of it, except for forever.
Yeah, it's forever.
We don't have to go and like pick up dirty tissues.
I think there is burned tissue in the back of my throat. Really and truly. I can still feel it. I'm still coughing. I don't have the COVID, but it is like I can breathe, which is really nice. Anywho, we hope everyone out there has had a really great week. We hope you enjoyed the mini-sode, and we have something a little different for you today. So I have a question for all of you out there listening. When's the last time you went out dancing? Like really danced? Like went out with your friends and had one too many gin and juices dancing? What about like when's the last time you saw someone dance so hard they died?
What?
What about vampires? When's the last time you accused someone of vampirism after death?
What?
You're probably listening to this and you're thinking, what about you, Chad? When's the last time you danced? Well, you'll have to stick around to the end to find that out. But I can assure you that I die a little bit every day when I open the news, so I've got that part of these stories down.
Oh, jeez.
And
I would say that for everyone, it's probably been at least a year since you last like really went dancing.
I think so.
Unless you're just a COVID denier.
Yeah, unless, you live in Florida.
Right.
But today we're talking about both of these things in the context of mass hysteria.
Ah!
Yeah, really.
Mass hysteria!
It's a really interesting concept, and we there's a bunch of these examples, but we looked into two today that we thought were kind of like especially ridiculous and strange, and we're going to share them with you, okay?
Yeah.
So, Emily, what did you decide to talk about? Well, they kind of know what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, you kind of already introduced it. So
yeah, let's go ahead and properly introduce them. We're talking about the dancing plague of 1518 and the New England vampire panic of the 1800s.
That's right. So we're talking about multiple forms of mass hysteria or incidences where large groups of people do or say weird things. Yeah.
Collectively lost their shit.
For no apparent reason. So we're going to start with one of the more well-documented cases of mass hysteria, the dancing plague of 1518.
Oh, before we start, sources.
We got our sources for today's episode from Wikipedia, history.co, bbc.com, history.com, and history.howstuffworks.com.
Yeah, and we also found a little bit from an old archived article on discovery.com called Dancing Plague and Other Odd Afflictions Explained from 2008.
All right, we're going to start with one of the more well-documented cases of mass hysteria, the dancing plague of 1518. This strange event occurred in the city of Strasbourg, France, which was then part of the Holy Roman Empire.
Remitos,
Dominus, Sanctus, Dominus. It began when a woman known as Frau Trophy.
I have no idea. I didn't look it up.
I know.
I'm a bad researcher.
You're not. First of all, you're not. It's spelled Troffea. So I think that it is trophy, but it just sounds like a fancy way of saying trophy. If you say it that way.
Yeah, it does. Trophy.
Frau Trophy. Sorry. Okay. It began when a woman known as Frau Trophy stepped into the street and began to silently twist, twirl, and shake. People began to watch, and I'm assuming admire Trophy for all of her sweet-ass dance moves. It soon became clear, however, that this was not a simple case of twerk fever.
No, she was out there shaking her ass for way too long.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a passing, fleeting moment of expression, as we're about to find out. It was much more. Frau Trophy continued to dance and dance and dance without rest for 6 solid days. Honestly, I can't imagine doing anything for 6 days except watching TikToks.
Yep. TikToks are in my soul now, and I'm afraid that I will die if I stop watching them.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Honestly, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I
at this
do
point
love me
I
some
am.
TikToks, man.
I wasn't a fan until I downloaded it, and then I realized what I was missing because, hey, China can have my face. I don't care anymore.
Dude, here's the thing. They already do. I
They
guarantee they already have your face.
China's seen my penis. I'm going to go ahead and assume.
Absolutely.
If they've seen that, they can see my face. I don't care.
I
don't
bet you
care
they've
anymore.
seen the majority of our genitals at this point.
Absolutely.
I say let them look. No. Okay, so within a week, 34 people had joined her. By the end of the month, 400 people were dancing. Dancing in the street.
Just hanging
dancing
out.
in the street. Come on.
Yeah, sorry.
That was great.
No, it was good. That's exactly what was happening. They were dancing in the cobblestones.
Dancing in the street. At the height of the dancing mania, 15 residents were dying each day from strokes, heart attacks, and sheer exhaustion. So you heard that correctly. 15 residents each day were dying from dancing.
Yeah, at one point it was they were really just going. It's like one of those contests where you have to dance to win the motorcycle with your partner.
Yeah.
It's exactly what this was, except your reward was sweet, sweet death.
To the death. Sweet release.
Yes. Where do I sign up?
So I know you're probably thinking that this sounds like a big old bunch of BS, right? John Waller, a Michigan State University professor who has also authored a paper on the topic, stated, quote, that the event took place is undisputed. Waller explained that historical records documenting the dancing deaths, such as physician notes, cathedral sermons, local and regional chronicles, and even notes issued by the Strasbourg City Council during the height of the boogieing rage, all are, quote, unambiguous on the fact that the victims danced. These people were not just trembling, shaking, or convulsing. Although they were entranced, their arms and legs were moving as if they were purposefully dancing.
Yeah, so they weren't out there just shaking.
They weren't trembling.
No.
They weren't just tapping a tap of a foot.
No, they were stanky legging. They were supermaning that hoe. They were, what's a newer one? What's a more recent?
I was going to say the lawnmower, so don't ask
Ah,
me.
Fuck. I don't know any good dances anymore.
They were, oh fuck, what are the kids doing these days?
Showing the booty holes.
Twerking.
Even that's old now.
It is. Well,
Now it's
I don't
like,
know the
the
names of the
Rasputin
dance.
dance.
I don't know the names of the dance on TikTok. I just know that they do them.
They do them.
They were doing like this is what comes across my feed, like the Phoebe Bridgers. Sorry that it all went down like it did. Hey, I have emotional motion
So,
sickness.
what are they doing?
They're going like,
She's wiggling her body and
and
shaking
then
a little.
it's still kind of twerking.
Kind of a pelvic
But it's
thrust.
funny because it's twerking to like a chill wave. But one of the moves is that you pretend to lick your hand and then you put it somewhere.
Oh, man.
So that's the other
Juicy.
move that I'm doing.
Oh, my TikTok's mostly a guy in a ski mask with like an IRA flag behind him.
Yeah.
Totally different algorithm.
Different algorithms. Okay, so let's get back to the story. Throughout the entire month that this was happening, and by the time August rolled around, anywhere from 50 to 400 people were shaken what their mama gave them. And yes, that is a broad number, but counting was a bit harder back in the day. And honestly, 50 people probably felt like New York City during rush hour for a village of what I'm assuming are chicken farmers?
Probably. They were farming something.
Farming something.
Cheese, maybe. They were in France.
They were weaving in on the loom and harvesting vegetables, and then they stopped it all
being
so
peasants.
they could dance.
Just being peasants.
There was still absolutely no explanation for what was happening, although the doctors at the time had come up with a possible answer. Hot blood.
Hot blood.
Hot blood. Everyone was just so damn full of hot blood that they had to shake that ass till the world saw how hot they were. And they were hot.
I wrote that, everyone.
I know. It's really good, babe.
That was a good one.
That's a good one.
I'm proud of that.
It's a good joke. It's a good line.
Writing these scripts is the happiest I've been in a decade.
Do you hear that, guys? You're bringing Chad so much joy. Just by listening. Just by existing out there and clicking download. It's
really helping me
feeding
not
our
kill
souls.
myself.
Oh,
so
God.
keep clicking it, please.
Clickety-click. So what did the town do with this information? They decided it would be best to let them get it out of their system and maybe humble them a little bit. They built a stage inside the town and brought in professional dancers to help somehow.
I really don't know what the thought. I never really found like what the thought process was behind that. It just said that they did it.
I liked your theory. I liked the humbling theory. It's like, well, let's get some bros out here.
Yeah, these
so
guys
then maybe
think
you'll
their
feel
blood's
shame.
hot. We'll show them some hot blood.
you'll look up and start to
Christina,
go,
get in here, shake that ass.
I can't dance that well, so maybe I should just go on home after weeks of dancing in the street.
The pros are here now.
So yeah, not entirely sure what they thought this was gonna do, but honestly, it seems like the community really benefited in the end with a nice new stage being built in town.
Yeah, they did something nice for themselves.
Oddly enough, though, just as quickly as it started, the dancing plague came to an abrupt end. After 3 months of dancing and several deaths as a result, remember, about 15 people a day were dying.
Yeah, at the peak, there were it's a lot of weird dancing deaths. One dancing death is a lot.
One dancing death is like mind-boggling. 15 a day is insanity. But just like that, just as suddenly as they all started, everyone just suddenly stopped. The people of Strasbourg apparently satiated whatever had overcome the town, and they returned to their normal lives. Probably forever remembering that summer of love and happiness where they watched their neighbor dance themselves to death. Ah, better times.
I'm sure that, for a peasant, chicken farmer, cheese farmer, that's probably was like kind of a, cool time.
You'll never forget it. You'll never forget it.
It's a cool time.
That is, though, if you're thinking that they were, like, coherent enough to remember it.
Someone had to have been. It'd be wild to go out there and, like, I don't know, but, like, at the same time, to join in would be really fun.
I bet that it felt really, like, primal, almost,
It's like that Lil Jon song, Get Out of Your Mind. Is that a Lil Jon song? Is that still a thing?
Get out of your mind!
That song, yeah. Uh-huh.
They did, and boy, did they get out of their minds.
Hot blood.
Hot. So, if you didn't think this was strange enough already, the 1518 dancing plague of Strasbourg was just one of many spontaneous outbreaks of dancing that occurred throughout Europe from the 7th to the 17th century.
Yeah,
so
did
there
not
was
know
more
that.
than one dancing event.
Yep, I knew about this one, but did not know there were more.
That's so crazy. History books are full of accounts of large groups of people breaking into dance. One of the earliest known cases occurred in the French town of Berberg. Sorry, that's funny. Berberg. I don't know how you would say that in the 1020s.
In
the
1020s? 1020s, I guess, yeah.
Where a Christmas Eve service was ruined by a group of peasants suddenly jumping up and singing and dancing for no apparent reason.
Yeah, this has got up and, Jock is, damn it, Jock. Stop grinding on the nativity scene. People are watching. Jock. Oh, hey, it's kind of nice. Well, okay. Fuck it. Let's just do it. Let's grind, baby.
Come on over.
That's what happened.
That's how it went down.
Yeah, documented.
They just couldn't resist Jock's moves. In 1237, there was another outbreak in the German town of Erfurt. Wow, Berberg and Erfurt.
They're just naming anything these days.
On this occasion, a large group of children took it upon themselves to leap and dance the 20 miles to the nearby town of Arnstedt, much to the bafflement of the residents of both towns. Many believe this was the origin of the Pied Piper of Hamelin story.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Very cool. But also, I think these stories are cool and super interesting, but if it was as involuntary as some of these stories sound, then it's also slightly terrifying.
Yeah, it's very scary for those people that were involved, probably.
Just like,
why am I skipping 20
dancing?
miles?
Where are we going? Who is controlling us? You can't see it, but I was dancing
Yes, she was dancing, not convulsing, dancing.
It was convulsing. The outbreaks continued to pick up pace throughout the 13th century, most notably in 1278, where the dancing antics of about 200 peasants on a bridge over the river Meuse caused it to collapse, leading to many casualties. Ooh, that's not what you want.
No, it's not. It's like the video that party in North Carolina at the college where the floor fell through.
Yeah, I remember that video. That was insane.
Pretty crazy.
Dude, I've been to some frat parties in
I
my
felt
day.
the floor bend.
I've definitely felt it
I
like
have.
bounce back, like when everyone's jumping, and then if you jump off rhythm, all of a sudden you're getting popped up like you're on a trampoline.
Yeah, it happened to me one time, and I promptly walked out, and it was in my house.
Dude, didn't that happen at the other frat house?
Yeah.
Dude, the
yeah.
other Delta Chi house, it happened at that other house.
Yeah, I was in a fraternity for a couple years in college, and yeah, the floor fell through. I forgot about that.
That was after we left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the 14th century saw further outbreaks of dancing mania. By far, the biggest being in the German town of Aachen in Germany in 1374, that spread like wildfire across the country, reaching as far as Italy and Luxembourg. The following 2 years saw outbreaks occur in France, Germany, and the Netherlands. Dancing mania hit the town of Augsburg in 1381, and in 1428, the plague reached Switzerland with outbreaks in Zurich and Schaffhausen that claimed the life of a monk. So even the monks were getting in on it.
They were trying to. Unsuccessfully, it looks like.
Oh. So, what do we think caused this? Newer science has given us a few ideas that we can at least work with. Some believe the dancing would have been brought on by food poisoning caused by the toxic and psychoactive chemical products of ergot fungi, which grows commonly on grains, such as rye, and is used for baking bread. Ergotamine is the main psychoactive product of ergot fungi, and it is structurally related to the drug, and I'll say it, lysergic acid dithylamide. Or LSD, baby.
Yep. Very similar.
Dropping acid back in the 1300s.
On accident.
By eating bread.
Yeah.
What a way to get high.
And then maybe die.
And maybe just dance your little heart to death. But we think that the other big explanation might be our favorite. It's stress-induced mass hysteria. Woo! This could have been a florid example of psychogenetic movement disorder happening in mass hysteria or mass psychogenetic illness, which involves many individuals suddenly exhibiting the same bizarre behavior. The behavior spreads rapidly and broadly in an epidemic pattern. This kind of comportment could have been caused by elevated levels of psychological stress, caused by the ruthless years the people were suffering. John Waller from earlier seems to support this idea. He speculates that the dancing was, quote, stress-induced psychosis on a mass level, since the region where the people danced was riddled with starvation and disease, and the inhabitants tended to be superstitious.
Yeah, and he also does not, he's not super into the idea of the grain being what happened, because it would eventually wear off and people would be like, what the fuck just happened?
Right, this happened for months. It's not like they were sitting there munching on the bread the whole time they were dancing.
Maybe that's all they had, though.
I mean, maybe
like,
they were.
Yeah, a snack.
And they just all were passing it around.
Yeah, they all got the same bread loaf. It's a small village.
We don't know. We're never going to know.
No.
Basically, what these people saw is equivalent to what everyone in their 20s and 30s is doing today. We can't move up in the world. We can't afford a home. Rent is 70% of our paycheck if you don't live in the country. And believe me, they'll rub that in your face while they roll around in whatever shit dive bar they have out there in the sticks. So, what do? We download TikTok and laugh until we cry.
Exactly.
If we didn't have phones, you're damn right I'd be out in the streets convulsing.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I really think that's what it was. Like, if they had an outlet, they might not have been dancing in the streets. They might have been doing something like looking at memes.
Yeah, I mean...
to hide the pain. I really truly believe that.
It does make sense. It makes sense as an emotional release, a physical release. It's like literally, what did you do for fun in the year 1027 or whatever the year is that I quoted earlier? Like,
I don't know. Stickball. If you were a child, if you were a grown person, you didn't have fun.
Yeah.
You just didn't. That was not a thing that times were different back then.
And I was like gonna say like sex, but for a woman, no.
No, not really.
Not really.
I don't think so. I would imagine it was
I would hope that there was
certain
like
places.
Some rogue lovers that just like really took it upon themselves. Anyway, I'm getting really distracted by idea of what fun would be.
Yeah, it's
so a
weird time period.
Either way, what happened back then was a very strange example of mass hysteria, but it's not the last one we're going to be covering today.
No, it's not. Next up, we have my mass hysteria pick, the New England Vampire Panic. This one's really crazy to me. So this is 200 years.
That sounds like a band.
That's a great band name.
New England Vampire Panic.
Love it. So this happened about 200 years after the Salem witch trials. So New England, for those who don't know, maybe the rest of the country was like this, but New England in particular was heavily superstitious, I think. Especially during those, early years, and that continued on for a really long time. It might even still be like that today. I haven't been to Vermont. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't seem. I don't think that they quickly recovered from the Salem witch trials up in that region. I think that was kind of just a extended trend, if you will.
Well, in the late 18th and early 19th century, New Englanders were gripped again by a vampire panic. In desperation, they began dismembering suspected vampires in hopes of driving off the terror and death that threatened to upend their lives. These vampires were entirely made up of recently dead individuals. What those crazy New Englanders didn't know was that their fears were misplaced. They should have been dismembering people who were still alive instead.
What? They were dismembering dead people?
Yeah, in a panic. This was literally a panic.
Brutal.
So we should start by explaining what was actually occurring during this time period up there. A disease we now know as tuberculosis began to run rampant in the late 1700s. Between 1786 and 1800, it killed 2% of New England's population, and it's been said that it eventually killed maybe 25% of the East Coast. Holy shit.
Whoa.
It's a lot of people. It was a terrible disease.
25%. Oh.
You just couldn't do shit. Once you had it, you were guaranteed to die, pretty much. So, at the time, TB was known simply as consumption because of the way it physically destroyed the body.
Oh, sorry. I have an opportunity to use a vocab word from last week's episode. So there was no convalescing happening post-TB.
No convalescence at all.
None.
Great word.
Thank you.
People with tuberculosis lost significant amounts of weight, coughed up blood, their skin literally turned gray, and they often died slow, painful deaths. The disease is also very transmissible, passing through family members who are helping a sick person to try to feel comfortable. So, this was not a good disease, highly transmissible, highly deadly. And that being said, the disease treated each person and even family different. Some households lost everybody, others never had any contact with the disease. Combining that with the fact that germ theory wasn't around, these factors paved the way for the panic that was about to come. Yes,
right.
there was no germ theory at the start of this.
We don't know what germs are. That's right. So
yeah,
it's
isn't that crazy?
It's just blame your neighbor.
That's all you could do.
It's just, yeah.
Not even your neighbor, your family.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go like, I'm going to blame my family. You go like, I'm going to blame those neighbors who were dancing on the street last week. You know?
Well.
There was no overlap. It was just a joke.
It's all for entertainment. It's all for you guys.
We
love you all. Thanks for the downloads. You're keeping me from killing myself. Don't forget that. Download it. Tell your friends. As the disease passed from family member to family member, whispers throughout New England began to surface about what could be causing this terrible ailment. Vampires.
Of course.
Vampires. New England was already a superstitious lot back then, much like today, and it was easy to see how they could believe the dead to be sucking the life from their family members one by one. So this is why I said it's literally your family, because
I see.
So we as a village have decided that your dead auntie is actually the one killing off the rest of your family with her psychic vampire powers. Now what?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
Well, what else but dig her up? In a valiant attempt to save the rest of the family, groups would gather to exhume the corpse of the now vampire and observe them.
Yeah, so like I heard you say psychic vampire powers.
Well,
they thought this was like all happening within the dead person's mind.
I mean, well, we'll see in a minute, but basically,
okay.
It's like once a family started to get it, everyone would get it, and typically, after one or two people started to die, people would start to think, oh, something is going on that's causing the rest of the family to die. Someone is feeding off of them. It's probably one of the dead people in the family, and that's when they would start digging people up.
Gotcha.
And I say psychic vampire because they're doing it from the grave, and I just imagine like the Stephen King eating the energy out of people with their psychic energy powers. Michael Bell, an author and premier expert on the supernatural beliefs of New England, states that the vampires were always corpses. They were never living people. The people who were performing the ritual actually never referred to the corpses they exhumed as vampires, although some outsiders, including newspaper writers and local historians, sometimes labeled the consumption rituals as vampirism.
Weird.
Yeah, so they weren't even calling them vampires. They were just, the news picked up on the word somehow and decided to associate it. I think from what I read, it was because of the way that Eastern Europe viewed the vampire. and
Right.
what it did, and so they found a connection in there.
Well, if you think about like the TB symptoms, right, of somebody like turning gray, coughing up blood, like it would
Leads you to believe vampire.
Yeah,
This is a vampire.
Where you could get there. But it is interesting that they were all like digging up bodies and handling it before they even had a name for what they were afraid of.
Well, yeah. So they dig them up, right? If this is how they determine whether or not you are a vampire. If there was an adequate amount of decay on the body, well, I guess Auntie wasn't a vampire after all, and you're just plain old fucked. But if the body had seen little decay, or if blood was still to be found in the heart or other organs, you had yourself a vampire.
Of course. Of course.
So they were looking for people who hadn't rotted and looked for blood on the inside, but blood does what when a body dies? It pools. So so the blood, depending on, how fresh you are, there's a good chance it might still be there anyway.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Like, what if you just, like, buried someone and it was really cold out and the body was preserved for a little longer?
Well,
like,
we'll see.
Oh, no. How gruesome. Okay.
There are a few ways to deal with the problem once it had been found. The easiest and maybe lamest was that the villagers would just roll the body over and close it back up in the coffin. Easy peasy. That was their. Some solutions was just go up and flip it. And that was it. That's all they did to it. But the more extreme method was to actually cut out the heart and other organs, burn them, and decapitate the body. Sometimes the bones were also crushed, with the bones left being rearranged in a skull and crossbones symbol. This was generally seen as giving off great spooky settler aesthetics and also metal as hell.
Yeah.
How was any of this supposed to cure the infected family, though? Well, what they would do is make sure whoever was sick was close enough to the burning organs to inhale the smoke coming off of them.
No!
Yeah, and in other cases, ashes from the organs were actually eaten in order to cure the consumption. So they would take their family member, burn their heart, and then they would try and eat it and to try and cure themselves or their family members that were already sick. Yeah, it's pretty dark.
That's so dark. You had to, you were already dying from tuberculosis, and then your family, wheels you on over and is like,
smell this roasted heart.
Yeah, it's like, inhale, grandma.
Yeah.
She's like,
breathe
you're
it.
like, you walk into a room and you just smell burning flesh, and they're just wafting it in your face.
Man.
Like, breathe it in. This will help your tuberculosis.
This isn't Carvel's, Mom.
Oh, no.
This is just my grandma's heart. According to Bell, these desperate grave-digging scenes played out at least 80 times throughout the vampire panic. You can find more information on this in his book that we did not read because obviously we've lost control of time and our lives. We did, however, reach out to our good friend Wikipedia, and they have listed 6 documented, quote-unquote documented, cases of this happening. The first and earliest was in 1793 when Captain Isaac Burton exhumed his first wife, Rachel, while trying to save his second wife, Huldah, who also had consumption.
Oh, wow. So he just thought his ex-wife was, just didn't want him to be happy again, huh?
No, she wants me to be miserable, and I know it.
She was really controlling, even from beyond the grave.
He wanted her gone forever.
Okay, so that was in 1793.
Yeah, and ultimately, Huldah, terrible name. Sorry, all you Huldas listening out there. Huldah died. It didn't work.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Now, in the winter, so this was, I don't know if this is necessarily New England, but in the winter of 1816 to 1817, the Swiss family of Philip Saladay began to develop symptoms of consumption shortly after settling on land in Ohio. After the son and the head of the household perished, they decided to try and beat back the disease by taking the entrails from one of the men and burning them in front of a large audience of Ohioans, no less.
Oh.
Yeah, Ohioans? What's a plural for an Ohio person?
I think Ohioans.
Well,
Ohioans.
Regardless, for the family, it didn't work. This too was a failure.
Surprise, surprise.
I know, right? It didn't work, and it ultimately, all but one family member died from tuberculosis. This is still regarded as the most exciting thing that's ever happened in Ohio. You just got zinged, Ohio.
Hit us back, Ohio.
Yeah,
we
come
dare
on.
you.
Show me what you got. So there's just a couple. I really like that one just because it's like pretty brutal. Like the fact they were just like pulling entrails out, and all those people are like, "Hey, what you doing?" And just watching. People
we're putting
were weird,
an end
man.
to this.
Yeah, they were just watching. I don't know how you could watch someone rip someone's entrails out.
We've talked about it before.
Different times.
True crime was in existence.
Most exciting thing, literally,
for a
I
long
think.
time.
Yeah, I really think it was the most coolest thing Ohio's ever seen.
People have always liked to morbidly watch things. It's just human nature.
Yeah. The last and most famous incident was that of a girl named Mercy Brown in 1892, a full decade after tuberculosis was discovered to be caused by a bacterium. And that's what makes this story unique, is they knew what was causing TB at this point, and this still happened.
Wow.
Apparently, the story still hadn't made the rounds in rural Rhode Island, where they were. Yeah.
Okay.
The Brown family lived in Exeter, Rhode Island. Like the rest of the families in our story, they began to succumb to consumption, starting with the mother, Mary. So, Mary gets sick and dies, and by 1886, so does the eldest daughter, who is also named Mary. At this point, the only remaining family members are the father, George, and his children, Mercy and Edwin. The family would continue to dwindle in 1891 when both Mercy and Edwin also got the disease that killed their mother and sister. It didn't take long for Mercy to pass away, leaving only Edwin and his father. Pretty soon, the community had pretty much decided, for some reason, that this was the work of what else but a vampire. And I saw that George agreed, and other places where George didn't agree, so I'm not entirely sure which of those is true. But regardless, the villagers were able to convince him to allow the graves of Mary, and Mercy to be dug up in order to be examined to see if they're a vampire or not.
So strange.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's hysteria.
It is. I mean, it genuinely is like just a community of people that still can't understand what's happening, and so they go back to something evil is happening. Just like we talked about earlier, the bodies were examined for freshness. The two Marys had been dead for some time and were essentially bone when they were dug up. Mercy, on the other hand, was still quite fresh. She had actually died in the winter. Because of that, the ground was too hard to dig, and so they placed her in an above-ground rock home that acted as cold storage for the body.
Nope, she's a witch.
Yeah.
Nope, she's actually just a witch.
No concept of what was happening.
Her body being stored in the cold, that's irrelevant. She's just evil.
I don't understand it, but, just totally, we know so much now. We know so much.
We know so much now.
Yeah, this is just goes to show you. But they pulled her out of this rock tomb, and she was very fresh, and there was even still blood in her heart. So this was a great day for the guy that decided to dig up a 100-year-old belief system. So remember, this had started in 1790, and this was 100 years later, and they're still pushing the vampire narrative.
That's so crazy to think about. What are the things that we believe now that 100 years from now, people will be like, wow, people thought that for 100 years?
I have a list of things I could say right now, but I'm not going to.
Chad's biting his tongue so hard that I think I just saw a drop of blood.
So the villagers appeared to be correct in their thinking. They found that it was none other than Mercy who was sucking the life force from the remaining family members. Mercy's heart and liver were burned, and her ashes were mixed with water to create a potion for Edwin to drink. Amazingly, Edwin survived the ordeal thanks to the potion. I'm just kidding. He died 2 months later.
Oh, no.
He just died, too. This did not work.
Yeah, because they had tuberculosis in their home.
Yeah, it's
I bet
in their
you
bodies.
when you go and exhume that body, like the body's probably still infected, right? If there's still blood in her heart, do you think the germs are still like...
Possibly. I don't know.
I don't
have no
know.
idea how it works. I just know it's in your lungs.
Oh, but
That's all I know.
also, like, you just ate it. You just drank your daughter. Like, you just...
His sister. He drank his sister.
Oh, Edwin drank the sister, and then George drank his daughter.
Yeah, but it turns out drinking burned organ just doesn't save you from the terror that is consumption.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where the story ended.
So George survived.
George survived. Yeah, everyone else died, though. Once again, we have one family member that just lost everyone. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal.
And then he lived the rest of his life going, I lost my family to vampires.
Yeah, really. Well, they actually were like, once Edwin died, they reburied Mercy. They were like, oh, sorry, we desecrated your body, and tucked her back into the rock.
Please don't haunt us forever.
Yeah, don't be a vampire later. Ultimately, this story is a lot like the others, but it did end up serving a greater purpose. Rhode Island became the vampire capital of America after the incident.
What?
And yeah, weird. I didn't know that either. And the story gathered steam as people began to ask, hey, what's with those signs saying, welcome to the vampire capital of America? It's a weird title you've got on all of your road signs there, Rhode Island.
How did you get that title there, friend?
I guess it didn't stick. And if it did, I didn't know about it.
No, I think Forks, Washington is now the vampire.
Yeah, because of Twilight. They got Twilight firewood up there, folks.
They do.
Go
Twilight.
get you some firewood. That person needs the money.
They do. Charge them $5. or firewood. Just calling it Twilight
Just
firewood.
Twilight wood.
It's Twilight firewood.
They tried. That
They're
was
not wrong.
That's what they came up with.
So just to clarify, when Chad and I did a drive across Washington prior to COVID, it was like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
We went through the town of Forks. We stayed in Forks. They have fully embraced their vampire label.
Years after.
Years
They're still,
later.
hanging on to Twilight.
So much so that even the locals were selling their firewood and labeling it as Twilight firewood.
Just pull over and get some.
Anyway, I'll let you finish up. Sorry.
Well, the story really did pick up steam. Like, we're laughing and stuff, but it did. People started to hear about it, and eventually it made its way to Europe, where it's said that Bram Stoker used the story as inspiration for the character Lucy Westenra in Dracula.
Wow.
Yeah, for those who didn't know, Lucy is the 19-year-old daughter, same age as Mercy when she died, of a wealthy family and is friends with the main female character, Mina. Lucy is also the first English victim of Dracula in the book. Sorry to spoil it for you, but it's been literally over 100 years. If you haven't read it by now, you're not going to.
Sorry, not sorry.
Mercy has also been the inspiration for H.P. Lovecraft, several other novels, and more recently some avant-garde films that honestly I haven't looked that much into yet. I know that there was it's like a weird movie about like a group of people that go to her grave and then they start to like imagine themselves in that time period. It seems, I don't know if I'd like it.
Very artsy.
Yeah. I saw a still from the film and I was just like, eh.
That looks like a lot.
Yeah. So, in some way, Mercy did manage to live on, just not in the form those villagers thought she would all those years ago. Thank you. These are only a few examples of mass hysteria that have occurred. It's so interesting and scary to me to see what group psychosis can appear as, and these are only a few examples of what has actually been documented. There's so much of our history that we don't know. Who knows how many times this has happened in the past and how exactly it panned out.
Or how many times it could happen in the future.
Yes, we never know.
You really don't.
Especially now, we're more connected than ever, but we're even more alone than ever. Think about that.
Wise words, Chad.
I mean, really though, could mass hysteria help explain certain cultural events? Maybe it could explain how an entire group of people vanished. These aren't questions we can answer easily ourselves, but it's easy to see how something like this could have a significant impact on a society if the event was large enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the episode, everybody. So, guys, we have so many more of these to talk about. We'll do more episodes on these.
I really enjoyed the mass hysteria.
I think
honestly.
It was really cool.
I think it's interesting.
The problem with these is there's so few of them in recent time that it's hard to get like a lot of material for a full-length episode on just one thing.
Right.
But I was looking into the satanic panic of the 80s and the daycare stories that happened with that, the daycare Satan panic thing, where they were talking about like these kids are being ritualistically abused and stuff, and we were doing a whole episode on that. That might even be a two-parter because I'm bought in, I'm sold.
Dude,
I want to know more about it.
I have an example that happened not even 10 years ago with that. So let's definitely talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to.
That'll be an episode, guys. But yeah, there's so many of these. So many of these. But the satanic panic is a great example of how a mass hysteria event can do exactly what we just talked about, and it can lead to something huge in society, like the rise of fundamentalist Christianity that is still terrifying anyone who isn't white and straight today.
Interesting.
It is. It's a really strange idea, mass hysteria, and just how it seems to suck people into its grasp is crazy to us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's nuts, but I really did enjoy this episode. It was good.
I don't know. There's part of me that kind of wishes I could have been there for the dancing plague. Not for to live in that time period, but I just feel like it was probably a really cathartic experience.
Yeah, I bet it was.
I kind of want to just start dancing in the street and see if people will join me.
You know, you could. You absolutely could. Maybe not now, but once that vaccine is in our blood and all of us have the microchip in our temple, they can scan me for the mark.
Yeah.
Then we can all go dance in public again.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
You guys, hey, Long Road homies, when you have your vaccine, let us know. We'll have our own
little dancing plague.
Yeah.
I'd love that. It'd be so much fun. Join the Discord so you can find out more about the dancing plague that we're going to have. The last time I danced, I told you guys I would answer that question.
Oh, yeah, it's time.
I don't remember it all. When was it? I think the last time that I really, got out there and just danced my little heart out was, do you remember? It was Halloween.
This last Halloween?
Yeah, I was out in the we had the speakers out on the sidewalk, and I was like, there were fireworks. No, that was July 4th.
That was July 4th.
Oh my God.
Definitely the summer.
Yeah, there were fireworks. Yeah, that was the last time I danced real hard. I was playing Welcome to the Black Parade, and there were fireworks shooting off.
We had a socially distanced block party. It was an accidental block party where we had neighbors across the street that they brought out their speakers and started to have a party on one corner, and then some other neighbors brought out their stuff and they started to have a party on the other corner. And so then we went out to the driveway and other people went out to their driveways, and everyone was kind of just like partying and hanging out. And yeah, we always end up jamming out to some emo music whenever that happens.
It was a good time.
Black Parade.
That was the last time that I danced. Really.
See, I was gonna say like bar dancing was the last drag show that we went to.
Yeah, that was. God, I don't even remember.
That was 2019, I think.
It's so long
ago.
ago.
It was still 2020 because it was like started 2020 because your brother was here.
I miss things.
Me too.
Yeah.
Guys, get your vaccine when you can.
Please, we're just waiting.
I know. I say that as if like it's an option for everybody right now because I'm not on any list yet. But whenever it becomes available, let's just like all agree to do it so we can dance.
Oh, we're long past that point already. No one's getting it, apparently. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks so much.
Could be dancing.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, I think that's it for the episode. We could talk about this all day.
Yeah,
I could talk about dance parties
all
all
the
day.
shit I miss.
But instead, let's talk about social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at _LRH_pod.
You can also find us on Facebook at the LRH Pod and reach us via email at thelrhshow@gmail.com.
If you want to contribute to our podcast, you can find us on patreon.com/thelrhpodcast. And you can email us your stories, questions, comments, anything like that.
Or just a hello.
Just a hello would be nice. Love to hear from you at thelrhshow@gmail.com.
I just said that part.
Oh.
I did. I already said that. But you know what? Throw it at them 2 times. That's okay.
Yeah, I guess hear it twice. Join the Discord, guys.
Twice as nice.
Oh, twice as long. Join the Discord, everybody. There's a link on Instagram and Twitter. It's totally free. We're going to have special Patreon content for our tiers on there as well. We're going to do book club, meditation, something on there as well once we have the momentum we can get some ideas going. I mean, we might start working on those shortly.
Honestly, though, I feel like you got better at the Discord, so y'all should hop on there because we're getting good at it.
I love it. I really do. It's a fun way to stay involved and just share more stuff with people, and we'd like to continue doing that with you all.
Speaking of sharing stuff, one more thing before we go, we wanted to let some of our listeners know that if you reached out and asked for more stickers, we've sent them in the mail today.
Yes,
so they're on their way.
The way, guys. We hope you get them soon. Also, last thing, if you're listening on Apple, leave us a review and a comment, please. We would love to get on that new podcast playlist, and we need your help to do that. Please. Tell your friends, take their phones, just do it. They don't have to listen. Who cares what they do? Just take their phone and review it for us. We'd love you forever.
You don't even have to write anything. I mean, I personally like to read the ones that you write just because then I go like, oh, really? But you could just click the 5 stars. Oh, I mean... Just click the stars.
Yeah, the one that you think is appropriate.
To leave the review.
Wink.
Just leave however many stars you think we deserve. Wink.
Wink, wink.
Nudge.
All right. That's everything, I think.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll be back next Monday with another mini-sode. It's my turn, so get ready.
Do it.
All right. And as always, thanks for
joining us on
the long road home. Goodbye, everyone.